Hello, and thank you for joining us. In this webinar, I will be providing an overview of AlphaThera's antibody labeling technology known as oYo-Link. oYo-Link is a simple-to-use, fast, and site-specific antibody labeling reagent that we hope will remove much of the uncertainty and challenges that scientists face when using more traditional antibody labeling kits. oYo-Link consists of an 8 kilodalton photoreactive antibody binding domain that has a high affinity for the constant region of full-length antibodies, specifically binding at the CH2-CH3 hinge region. It is this high affinity interaction that drives many of the benefits that we will discuss in subsequent slides. When illuminated with 365 nanometer light, oYo-Link forms a stable covalent linkage with the antibody. Therefore, any cargo that is attached to oYo-Link will be covalently and site-specifically attached to the constant region of the desired antibody. The overall procedure is very simple and is completed in just 2 steps. After resuspending the oYo-Link in water, just mix oYo-Link with the desired antibody, then illuminate for 2 hours. And that's it. The antibody will be site-specifically labeled with the desired cargo. In most cases, the conjugate antibody does not need to be purified. However, in highly sensitive applications, the free oYo-Link can be removed using a variety of standard techniques, including magnetic beads available from AlphaThera, spin filtration, dialysis, and chromatography. 1 microliter of oYo-Link is used to label 1 microgram of antibody, and the reaction is scalable. Up to 8 milligrams of antibody can be labeled in a single 15 milliliter Eppendorf tube, and multiple tubes can be used in parallel. A notable benefit of oYo-Link is that any oYo-Link reagent that is not used can be stored and saved for later use. Before using oYo-Link, we do recommend that you review our antibody compatibility table, since there are a couple of antibody species and subclasses that are not compatible with oYo-Link. When looking at the table, 3 pluses usually means that 90 to 95% of antibody heavy chains will be covalently labeled with oYo-Link. Since there are 2 heavy chains per antibody, each antibody is essentially labeled with 2 oYo-Links. As you can see, all human IgG antibody subclasses can be efficiently labeled with 2 oYo-Links. The same applies to many other commonly used antibody species, including rabbit and most subclasses of mouse. 2 pluses on the table means that labeling efficiency is expected to be around 50%. So on average, there will be 1 oYo-Link per antibody. However, in actuality, about 25% of the antibodies will not be labeled, 50% will be labeled with a single oYo-Link, and 25% of antibody will be labeled with 2 oYo-Links. We usually do not recommend oYo-Link products for the labeling of antibodies with a single plus or minus on the compatibility table. Our standard version of oYo-Link products label all of the antibodies listed as being compatible, except for mouse IgG1. Mouse IgG1 requires the use of a separate oYo-Link product that only labels mouse IgG1. A nice benefit of using oYo-Link products is that since they are composed of a small protein, it is very easy to confirm whether antibody labeling has been successful. Simply run an SDS page. Even the efficiency of the conjugation can be assessed. Successful labeling results in a clear shift upwards of the heavy chain band. Also, the relative amount of unlabeled and labeled heavy chain can easily be quantified, even when the cargo being attached is small, such as when antibodies are labeled with biotin or drugs. Perhaps one of the most important features of oYo-Link is that antibody labeling can essentially be performed in every common antibody storage buffer, even those containing albumin or tris. Antibody labeling can even be performed directly in serum, acetic fluid, and hybridoma supernatant. This buffer compatibility table can be found on our website. Because of oYo-Link's products' broad buffer compatibility and its high affinity for IgG, no desalting, concentrating, or centrifuging of your antibody is required prior to labeling, saving you time and precious sample. The high affinity interaction also allows conjugations to be performed with very little antibody and very dilute stock solutions. As little as 1 microgram of antibody can be labeled at a time. This is especially valuable if you would like to check the conjugation efficiency via SDS page before labeling an entire stock of your precious antibody sample. Antibodies at concentrations as low as 50 micrograms per milliliter can also be labeled efficiently, with no loss in conjugation efficiency. AlphaThera currently offers a diverse range of products, including reagents for labeling antibodies with click chemistry groups, oligonucleotides, biotin, epitope tags, drugs, and more. I will now highlight several of our products and discuss how they potentially improve your assays, starting with oYo-Link Single Biotin. oYo-Link Single Biotin is particularly well suited for surface immobilization. Site-specific labeling of the antibody constant region ensures that the biotin label does not interfere with antigen binding, and that the labeled antibody is correctly oriented on the surface. In contrast, more traditional labeling methods can result in improperly oriented antibodies and non-functional antibodies. In some cases, site-specific labeling with oYo-Link Single Biotin can significantly improve assay performance. For customers that would like to use oYo-Link to attach their own cargo to antibodies, we currently offer 4 click chemistry products: oYo-Link Azide, DBCO, thiol, and tetrazine. A unique benefit of our click chemistry products is that the click chemistry reaction is performed between oYo-Link and the desired cargo prior to antibody labeling. This can yield significant benefits in terms of reaction efficiency because the click chemistry reaction can be performed at much higher concentrations and much smaller volumes than when reactions are performed directly on the antibodies. In addition, oYo-Link is generally much more resistant to the effects of organic solvents and heat than antibodies. In fact, oYo-Link is structurally stable even when heated up to a temperature of 70 degrees Celsius. Once oYo-Link is labeled with the desired cargo, the antibody can then be labeled with the oYo-Link conjugate using the same procedure that is used for all of our oYo-Link products. Next, we have our oYo-Link drug products. They are particularly well suited for high throughput antibody drug conjugate screening assays. We currently offer 4 drug options: VC-MMAE, DM1, VC-MMAF, and DM4. oYo-Link drugs offer several important advantages over more conventional labeling methods. First, the site-specific and efficient labeling with oYo-Link allows for a very narrow distribution in the drug-to-antibody ratio, or DAR. For human antibodies, the DAR will be very close to 2, with very little antibody-to-antibody variability. This means that many antibodies can be labeled in parallel, with no concerns over variability in labeling or interference with antibody binding, making it much easier to identify true functional differences. Second, the free oYo-Link drug does not need to be removed after antibody labeling. The antibody-drug conjugate in the presence of excess oYo-Link drug can be directly added to cells without any purification steps. This is possible because the free oYo-Link drug is not cytotoxic. Any drug that is attached to oYo-Link is not able to enter cells, unless targeted with an antibody. This significantly simplifies the high throughput evaluation of many antibody-drug conjugates in parallel, since no purification steps are required. One of our most popular products is oYo-Link Oligo. Antibody oligonucleotide conjugates are being used in a rapidly expanding number of applications, including highly multiplexed spatial proteomics, immuno-PCR, and proximity ligation assays. oYo-Link oligo is sold with the oligonucleotide attached to the oYo-Link, and this oligo is included in our prices. You'll just be asked to provide us with your oligonucleotide sequence. High-purity oligonucleotides are acquired from IDT or GenScript and can be attached either through their 5' or 3' end. Standard pricing is available for oligonucleotides up to 80 bases in length. Longer sequences can also be ordered, as well as any chemical modifications that IDT or GenScript offers. These do, however, require custom pricing. The high-affinity interaction between oYo-Link oligo and the antibody ensures highly efficient labeling, regardless of oligonucleotide length. As can be seen on the SDS page, the efficiency of labeling the antibody heavy chain is similar regardless of whether the oligo is 10 bases or 80 bases in length. Finally, I would like to introduce oYo-Link epitope tags. oYo-Link epitope tags allow for the direct labeling of primary antibodies with any of 10 unique epitope tags. This makes multiplexing easy. You never have to worry about antibody species cross-reactivity again. Up to 10 antibodies can be uniquely identified regardless of their species or subclass. So, even if you have 10 primary antibodies that are all rabbit in origin, they can each be labeled with a unique epitope tag, and thus uniquely identified. Each oYo-Link epitope tag includes 3 binding sites in series to maximize secondary antibody binding and assay sensitivity. Since different epitope tags exhibit minimal sequence overlap, high signal-to-background ratios can be achieved. And that brings us to the end of this webinar. If you'd like to learn more, please visit our website at www.alphathera.com. If you have any technical questions, please email us at support@alphathera.com. And if you have any sales-related questions, please contact us at sales@alphathera.com. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for listening.